Oh, you did? Okay. You don't got to do that.
I think she was being appropriate.
Hey, yeah. Well, we're not. So
no, I didn't know if you guys had to record something, and I didn't want to have me like making some weird ass noise. Just like, hi guys, welcome.
Yeah.
Like,
what's fucking weirder than my cat sitting outside the door screaming for the past half an hour? Nothing. It's completely okay. Breathe right into that mic.
Here's the thing. This episode's probably going to be chaotic because you know what? It's been chaotic for the last 30 minutes because our lives are in shambles.
Chaos.
Shambles. And that's just what it fucking is right now.
A shack in the middle of the fucking woods right now. We're
on
up
fire.
Schitt's Creek with cardboard paddles, okay? And it's getting murky. For fuck's sake. Welcome to episode 103, goddammit. Steph is back.
Oh my goodness.
We loved the finance episode. I hope everybody watches fucking YouTube and watches me like just rub my eyeballs out of my head. So we had Steph on episodes ago. I'm not even going to pretend to know what fucking episode was. Yeah, January feels like 14 years ago. So
it was new year, new money mindset.
When Steph was a baby, we had her on the podcast, and now 82 years later, here we are. It felt like 82 years. Jesus Christ.
Back in my day.
Back in my grandma strong hand. Okay. So we had her on New Year, new money mindset. And we wanted to talk about finance some more. And we had high hopes for this episode. And then this week happened. And man, have all of us been just hit with an atom bomb. So we're doing our best. And I know that's been a running theme for the past month in this podcast, but we literally are doing our best. So
we're still showing up. That's what matters.
Yeah. Show up, show out.
I like it.
Steph's got her cranberry juice. I look like fucking Garth. And we're gonna talk about, I want to talk about, specifically address ways to set up new budgets for beginners, ways to set up if the budget is going to look like maybe a weekly budget, or if we're going to talk about a bi-weekly or a monthly budget. And then what I thought would be so fitting for us is to discuss how to avoid emotional spending when you have a budget, and just, in general for life, because I don't know about any of you, but when I'm going through it, all I want to do is buy something to make my little heart happy. And it will work maybe for the first 10 minutes. And then I get super sad of like regret of I shouldn't have done this, or just, I don't need that. Or I'll get it home and like the next day, then it'll start to set in of the same type of mentality of I don't need this, or why am I doing this?
To play kind of devil's advocate, I feel like when I'm trying to restrict myself from buying myself things that make me happy, it's like restricting myself from food that tastes good and food that makes me happy. And I don't want to do that. I like to indulge sometimes, and I like to spend money on myself. Now, do I do it to excess like I used to and get myself into thousands upon thousands of dollars in credit card debt? No. But I feel like I've worked really hard to not beat myself up or not guilt myself when I do spend money like I used to. Does it still happen sometimes? Yes. But I don't know.
So my opinion
yes
on it is that you're both right. Honestly, it's if you restrict yourself too much, that's when you go into a binge cycle.
And you like
that's
binge,
when
yeah.
Exactly. It's just like, well, you know what? I haven't bought anything for the last 2 days, so I'm gonna buy everything.
Yep.
And that's like, and I am actually one of the people that when I get like super emotional, like I will also buy something, which is super weird for me because I don't buy anything, but like it'll just be little stuff, and then I'll also go through that guilt phase of it as well. But I've been working very much like Stephanie was saying. I'm not putting myself into that guilt phase within reason. I think you said it absolutely perfectly, is that you can't do it to excess. But I also am a very big proponent to adding that kind of stuff into your budget. If shopping makes you happy, there is nothing wrong with that. If a new shirt, new makeup product, a new gym outfit, a new pair of shoes, a new dog, whatever. That's going to help you. And
a new animal for 18 years. I mean,
I'm not, that was sarcasm in case anyone's not seeing my face. And the way I said sarcasm right there it's been a day, guys. Sarcasm. I'm trying so hard not to make voices right now, but
I know, same.
But no, seriously, you shouldn't punish yourself when it comes to, if you're having a bad day and you want to go get a Starbucks, do it. Is that $5 coffee going to derail your budget? No, it's not. The little things like that are easy to exclude when you're struggling shouldn't necessarily be fully omitted just because you're struggling. There are plenty of days that you're just going to be like, I can't function today. I got too many applications in my shift. Something's happening at home. Like I had a fight with my significant other that it's just like, you know what would make me feel better right now? A new lipstick, a cup of coffee. You know what I would really want to do? Like go on a walk, but I don't have the shoes for it or something like that. That it's like, it's within reason. Now, if you're going out and you're just like, I've had a bad day, I'm getting a whole new wardrobe. That probably shouldn't be where your thoughts go first. But I'm a very big proponent of that's also what your savings is for. Granted, you want your savings to be something that is in case of emergency, something comes up and you need it to fix a tire you hadn't prepared for, or an unexpected, I was re-listening to the previous episode earlier today, your furnace goes out, your AC goes out. You have all these big expenses that can happen out of nowhere, and that's what your savings is for. But it's also for those moments that you're like, I am struggling today. But you know what would bring me a little bit of joy is if I spent $5, $10. I would say up to 50 on something that you're just like, you know what? I'm not going to spend any more money on feeling bad today, but I can justify this as well. And what I've found is when I give myself almost that permission to do that, is that relieves the guilt, and then it makes me not want to continue spending for that reason.
Yeah. I think too, when you are looking at like your days as a whole, you'll start to like, okay, if I'm going to give myself permission for this thing, then it's like, just as we would tell anybody to be looking at the coping skills that they're using, we wouldn't be like, okay, if journaling is a coping skill that works well for you, then the only thing you should be doing is journaling. So we would ask for there to be a differentiation in coping skills, just to be able to try throughout the time that you're recognizing, okay, I'm sad, I need to potentially change the way that I'm feeling. So maybe it's working out. Maybe it's I was going to say lesson planning. What the fuck? Meal planning. Maybe it is not meal planning, but meal prepping. So maybe it's going for a walk. Maybe it's a face care, like a skincare routine. Maybe it's spending something. Maybe it's getting your nails done. So like to try these different coping skills, to be able to have like a sum of all parts versus I'm only using the same coping skill throughout the entire time, because then that's, in my mind, for me personally, that's what got me into debt, is being like, I deserve it. And it's like, but you're not trying anything else, dude. And there's other things that you need to try, especially because if you already know that your financial situation is dire, what do you think spending on things that you don't need is going to do for you? It's just going to make you more upset. Like, so I understand if be like, okay, I'm going to get myself a little Starbucks, be able to do something. But then the next day you need to fucking figure it out and try something else.
That's a really good point.
I haven't tracked this specifically, but I do feel like my spending habits are cyclical sometimes, where it's like there's several weeks. I wouldn't say I go a whole month without buying myself something, because that's ridiculous. But I feel like I could go a couple weeks in a row where like I don't really indulge. Like I used to have like every Friday would be like my eat something like from Chipotle or like Popeyes. That was like my treat of the week kind of thing. Other than that, I could go without buying books or clothes or anything like that. But then there'll be like times where I'm like, all I want to do is spend money all weekend. Like it's wild to me. And it may be situational or it may not be. Like right now is situational because of Rocky. But like other than that, I don't know. Maybe I should keep track of that.
I think it'd be a good thing to see.
Yeah.
I think that there are certain moments where like I'll hold out and I'll be like so strict, and then all of a sudden I'll be like, all bets are off.
Yeah.
Like, but I think it looks like that on like when I'm saving for a vacation. And then I feel like I'm like holding the dam and I'm like, don't let the water out, don't let the water out, don't let the water out. I get to vacation. I'm like, let it flow.
Yeah.
I'm going to buy whatever the fuck I want. Like we went to New York and we went to the Peloton studios and I was like, bet I'm getting fucking Peloton apparel. I don't care. I order it when I'm at home. So I'm at the studio. I can literally buy it at the studio. So I got a set that I wanted, which whatever, I was expecting it to be whatever. And then the next day when we came back, I wanted to get a Peloton Studios hat, but they had sold out and I was so sad. They had like a normal Peloton hat, but I was like, oh, I'll just get that from thing. I want something that says Studios. So I was like looking around and I found this cute zip up and I was like, oh, it's cute. I love it. Whatever. And I didn't even look at the price tag because I was just like, I want something from the studios. And then she rang me up and I was like, oh my God, are you sure that's what that cost?
How many did you ring up? Just one? Or did you scan it twice?
Was it a burp? Did you double scan it? You should rewind this receipt. What does that say? She's like, it's one. And I was like, okay, I love that. Thank you. She was like, do you want a bag? And I was like, I want a couple.
Wrap it in gold, bitch.
Yeah. I want a couple. And do you have stickers too?
Are they free?
Sign it for me, please. Like,
can I just wipe up someone's sweat with it real quick?
Do you have a staff t-shirt I get with this too? I'm going to take a couple of those free bobby pins and Q-tips in the bathroom because fuck you. Seriously. But then I was like talking to Jeff and I was like, well, I just got 3 things and he didn't get any. I was like, well, do you like these shorts? Do you want them? And he was like, I don't know. I'll just think about it. And I was in my mind, I was like, dumb. I was like, you have a free pass and I'll get them for you right now. Cause I was like in that mood. And then we got home and I was like, I can never spend another dollar again ever in my life. Burn all your cards. We're locking it down tight.
But if you go back to what you both were saying just a little bit ago, it's not like that was an out of nowhere expense.
Correct.
You had saved for that trip. You had prepared for the fact that New York is an expensive city. And I know you, and I'm sure Steph knows this too, your obsession with Peloton.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that the reaction at the end, I'm glad that it wasn't straight guilt. It was like, all right, we're back on the pilgrim budget. Like,
yeah.
But that, there is something to be said about the fact that you started a budget, you created savings to be able to spend like that while you were there so that you could enjoy it. And you didn't feel like when you were leaving, like, well, now I just deprived myself. And when I get home, I'll just buy maybe I'm just going to use random numbers instead of $300 worth of goods at the store. I'm going to spend $150 online, which is like, well, that's it's a little bit less, but is it?
Yeah.
Right. And then it's still not giving you the same satisfaction as like, this was an experience versus this is just what I want. This is just out of a straight emotional need versus this being like a whole body experience, a whole emotional experience. No, totally. I totally get that. I told Jeff we were on the plane and I was like, we should get some extra snacks from the stewardess just in case. Bring them home, put them in self lunch. What do you think? What are you thinking? He was like, knock it off. And I was like, I'm stressed out. But like once we got home and like now being back in the swing of things this was the first solid week back. So I had 3 days when we came back, and then this is the first solid week back. I think I have 5 things left on my budget for this month, and it's the 12th. So
that's pretty fucking good.
Gonna be fine. I mean, they're the big items, but still gonna be fine because they're the big items, but they're things that no matter what will get done because they're the bigger items that I will not let them be paid.
And they're also the things that you've already set up to save for, to pay for them outside of that.
Yes.
Sorry, Sully just went nuts and chewed through my favorite blanket, so that's cool. So I'm sorry that I was.
Oh, you're fine.
Going ghosty.
Sully is Steph's child that she doesn't let see the light of day on most days. But never. Today she thought I'd let him run around a little bit, and I was chewing through blankets.
This is why you don't have kids.
Down.
Set.
Oh my God.
Oh, for fuck's sake. So let's,
All right, yes.
since we just addressed emotional spending, I feel like that was a good address. How would you direct someone who's like, I've never had a budget in my entire fucking life? How would you start them on being like, okay, let's figure out a baseline?
Yeah. So I'm going to ask for, would you prefer a scenario when it comes to someone that's younger, that's just starting off working, or someone that's older that maybe maybe they don't have a ton of debt, but just don't have a budget and want to set one up?
I would
Or
say
both.
that I have a lot of clients who are like middle age, like my age, maybe a little bit younger or a little bit older, that never really functioned on a budget before and are just like paying what they need to pay, but then like also not
Cognizant of where their money is going.
Yeah, and like haven't learned how to like, hey, like for example, your water bill comes quarterly, but most people don't set us. Well, I guess I didn't. I'll speak for myself. I never set aside money for it. I would just every 3 months be shocked that a water bill would come, even though it's like, bitch, yeah, you're using water, ho. Like you're gonna have to pay that. Like what? So like now I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going to take this water bill. This is a guesstimate of like usually what I pay. I'm going to break it down over 3 months. So every month, this is the amount that I'm putting away. And then at every quarter, I can take out of my savings, my water bill savings account and pay that bill. And it is what it is. But I would say like I have so many people like that who also then too that I try to set up initial budgets with that they don't account for anything aside from just the couple of bills. And I'm like, you aren't eating, you don't go anywhere in the month. So I'll be done there.
So with a situation like that you're older, you've got your bills to pay, you're paying your bills, starting a budget can seem super daunting. And especially with my suggestion, it's going to seem overwhelming at first. So just bear with me. If you're listening to this and not seeing my hands, I got them up. Just bear with me. All right. So my personal suggestion would be to sit down one day, get yourself a drink, water, coffee, booze, whatever you drink, do what you got to do. Sit down and start going through what you spend in a month. Get into your online banking, your mobile banking, whatever it happens to be, and start going through, what did I spend my money on this month? Okay. Then from there, go to, what do I have to pay? I have to pay my rent. I have to pay my water. I have to pay my car insurance. I have to, like, all of the things that you absolutely have to pay. And then what are the other things that you're choosing to pay? Netflix, certain subscriptions like Peloton, like we had talked about before, Netflix, Hulu, some
Kindle,
people have like
Prime,
Kindle, all that kind of stuff. The
Disney,
stuff that you're
Hulu, Netflix,
all of the subscriptions, all the apps that you're paying for on a monthly basis, and put that down too. Actually look at what you're spending, because maybe it's this 3-month thing that every 3 months, all of a sudden you have 4 bills due that you didn't realize that were due at the same time on a 3-month cycle. And put it into an Excel spreadsheet, or if you have Libra as your operating system, put it into the generic version of Excel spreadsheet so you can see it all, so that it's just right in front of you. Even if you don't start off with numbers or anything to start off with, just write down what you're spending it on. Go through your last month's worth of banking and, out to eat, Sephora, oil change, like Amazon. Write it all down. Amazon. It's a problem.
I got guys. I was looking at a picture and oh man, I got. I was so pissed.
But if you start off doing something like that, at least then you're able to see it with your own eyes rather than you're just swiping a card and it happens. It's not just happening in the background. It's right in front of your face. Pardon me. Then I would write it down with numbers. I would go through each of those items and see, what are you spending on everything on an average month in comparison to what are you earning income-wise consistently per month. Now, I say it like that because a lot of people have second, third jobs, that are out there, or they're bartenders or waitresses, that you can't guarantee what money you're going to make in that kind of situation. So if you have an income like that, average it out for the last 3 months and use that as your baseline. And again, I know that sounds super daunting, all right, because that's a lot of information. You got to go through your whole online banking. You got to figure out what you're making. But that is the most accurate way that you are going to be able to see what money you're making and where you're spending it, and then what you have left over or why you don't have any left over. Now, there are a lot of people that can do weekly based budgets because they get paid weekly, etc. I personally suggest setting up your budget based on how many times per week, or not per week, how many times per month you're paid. If you're paid once a month, you have to figure out how much with that one paycheck you're setting up to make payments, you're setting to put away to your savings, you're setting to do extracurricular activities and all of that. If you're paid weekly, it's a little bit easier because you get that once a week kind of affirmation of the money that's coming through. And that would be the beginning part of it, is figure out what you're spending your money on, figure out how much money you have, and break it down to what do I have to pay and what am I choosing to pay.
Yeah. I think it is easy if you have something that you can bring along with you that you can write things down on. I think that it is easy when you are like going through the motions of what you're actually doing as you start to write things down. Obviously, I know that it's 2023, online banking keeps track of everything for us. But I think when you were creating a mindful moment out of it and you were carrying around, like, say, just like a little pad of paper and you're writing down things as you go, that it, or it's just even keeping receipts from things that you buy at stores or whatever. If it's especially like, oh, you know, I've noticed that I've been able to do all of my bills and the things online, like that's completely easy for me. But then like by the end of the month, I'm like, where the fuck did all my money go? Keep all your receipts. And then start to see like, holy shit, how did I get here? How did I spend this much? I can't tell you how many times I'll go into Festival or Walmart, or I'll go to Aldi, or maybe run to Walgreens real quick. And it is just like $20 here, 30 there, because everything has gone up and everything is so expensive that you don't even pay attention. And when it's something that in your mind, you think that you need, like I need cough drops, or I need NyQuil, or, you know, I need to get this for Sophia, or I need this, like when she was sick in New York, we were in Grand Central Station. I took her. So I'm sitting there with her and I'm like, she was throwing up all day and she's sitting here saying that she, I haven't eaten anything. I don't, like, nobody's making sure that I have anything. I don't have, blah, 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 blah. So we go into this. It was similar to a Walgreens. It almost might have been a Walgreens, maybe, I don't know. But it was like a little pharmacy store. So I got her chapstick, I got her crackers, I got her water, I got her hand sanitizer, like all of those things. I got her Dramamine. I was like, I knew I got her a pill. Got her Dramamine. And then I got myself a little snack because I knew that I was going to be with her the entire night, and we were going on this dinner cruise thing. And I was like, the fuck, I have no idea what they're going to fucking have on this cruise. So got myself a Snickers and some fucking crackers, like gluten-free crackers or something, and like little pickle bite things. Because I was like, well, I'm going to just span this out over whatever, like fucking solid iron stomach of eating all of those random things together. No wonder we feel like shit constantly, but like looking at that, and I go to check out and I'm just going to have to buy these things, $38. I was like, oh, okay. $38 for this. Oh my God. But all of those things are things that I had to buy. Like she had to, I mean, I didn't have to buy the snacks for myself, but then what am I going to be on the boat fucking starving, being mean to other people's kids? I already wanted to be mean. So it's just like, if you just don't know unless you start keeping track of those things and you're aware, you have no idea how much you're spending. And I understand that it can seem daunting. I can speak for myself. I have fucking been there. I totally fucking get it. But here's the thing. You are in a position, my guess, you're listening to this and wanting to start a budget or getting to that point, and you're listening to this and you're thinking, I'm in this debt, or I'm doing this, or like I'm struggling with this. Here's the thing. You're going to have to do shit that's uncomfortable to get to the results that you want to get to. Think about that for anything. Think about a mental health journey. You're going to have to do a lot of fucking uncomfortable things to get to where you want to be. I can speak for my own self. My mental health journey has been fucking, again, up Schitt's Creek with cardboard paddles. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure other people are going up Schitt's Creek without even a fucking boat. They're just waiting.
They don't even have arms. Okay, they don't even have arms.
They don't even have arms. They're just kicking and just going, doing their best. Like, so that's the thing. Like, you have to understand, you're not going to be fucking comfortable. It's going to be hard. that's the thing that just fucking irks me sometimes too. Is, well, it's so hard. Yeah, it is. Yes. Life is fucking hard. Welcome to your life. What part of your life has been fucking easy? I don't know about you, but there's been some shit that's been really fucking difficult. And this is not taking away from the things that I've been through, but I feel like there are moments where I can be like, man, I've had a really fucking really lucky compared to what I've seen other their journeys and what they've walked through, especially listening to people's trauma all fucking day. So I know that I can hold space for myself, but also know like, God damn, like some people are like, you know what, I'm just going to go down the river. Like,
literally. Yes. Take me out.
Whee!
Oh goodness.
So you're gonna have to get uncomfortable. You gotta get uncomfortable. It's not gonna be comfy. I've been doing a budget for what? When did we start stuff? 2018. Is when I got serious. 2018. Okay, 5 years. I've never been fucking comfortable. 5 years ain't never been comfortable. I've had breathing moments. Don't get me wrong, but I think the uncomfortability keeps me going. Yeah. I think it makes me aware of that. You have been here and you don't want to be there again. So you need to be diligent about what you are doing every week, every day, even. Because I look at my financials every day. Every day I look at them to make sure, okay, what do I need to do?
I think what's hard is like we both have, obviously, the two of us have a job where we cannot predict our income. We'd like to think that we can predict how many sessions we're going to have based on how many openings we have, but like shit happens. People cancel, people don't show up, right? And like it's not consistent, and neither is working in outpatient, because in outpatient you get paid once a month and you get paid based on when insurance feels like paying you. So you know what I'm saying? So it's like you can plan to a point where it's like you pay for like I have to pay my rent, you know, my car insurance, myself, like I have the basics all taken care of and things like that. But I don't know. That's
why in the beginning, before you went out to get your office, that's why I was telling you, do what I did of like set aside, like live as if you're paying those bills. To be able to set them aside for however many months. So then that you have that kitty of what you would need for like 3 months, say, to keep those bills going. And then when you get in, it doesn't feel so, when you decide to make that jump, it doesn't feel so tight because it's like, okay, I have this kitty and that's what it's for. And I can pay these bills out. But realistically, how I do it is I look at my bills, what I need for the month. And then obviously I get paid daily because people are paying for their sessions as it goes. And so I'm keeping that money, storing it usually like every 2 days, maybe every 3 days. Then I'm starting to send money off as bills. But then usually by the first 2 weeks, I get most of it set. And then the last 2 weeks are kind of like fluctuation periods. But I don't really touch any of that money until I know, like, as I'm getting closer to the end of the month, what I've already paid, what I've got going on. And then in the beginning, when I first went off on my own and nothing was set or prepared, it was like, okay, I'm going to take this $600 and I'm just going to leave it here. And so then that way, when I'm morphing into the next month, I've already got 600 set aside. That is going to be like the bulk of maybe what I can send off from some of these things, and then just continue that on. So then like towards the end of the next month, then I've got another 600, or maybe I add something to it. But I was very diligent in the beginning of like, I went back to Pilgrim budget of my nails are what is important to me. And that is what I will be paying, and my Peloton subscription. Because when I fully went out on not fully out on my own, but in September 2020 is when I opened my business. And then 2021, it's September 2021, I got the office. So from June 2021 to September 2021, I took all of the extra money that I had left over, just not really left over, but left over at the end of the month, and put that into savings. So then that way, by the time when I went out on my own, I had 4 months worth of physical office bills already set aside to make sure that I was okay in that moment. And then from September to December, it was like pure strict Pilgrim budget. Right? When did we go to Boston? 22?
October.
It was 20. It was 22.
22.
Yeah.
Yep.
Firefly was 22, right? As well. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So I didn't do shit in 2021. Yeah. 2021, I set aside. Yeah. I didn't do anything in that time period. And I just kept everything and then made sure that I felt secure, but I did my nails and I did Peloton for sure.
Yeah.
Every once in a while I bought whatever, but yeah.
And to Steph's point too, is when you're starting a budget too, you have to be initially aware of what your goal of your budget is. Is it just to make sure that your bills are being paid and you don't care about a savings? Don't do that. But is that what you're doing?
Mhm.
Is it to get an office space? Is it to make sure you have a savings for your child? Is it to make sure that you can buy an expensive dog food for your dog? Whatever it happens to be, what is your goal and what is your purpose? Because you make a very good point, Steph, that when you're kind of out on your own, everything's unpredictable. So you could go from making, and again, I'm just pulling numbers out.
Sure.
You're making $500 a month one month and making $4,000 the next. That is just like, well, how do you average that reasonably to set up a budget?
Yeah.
Is that you want to, exactly what Mari is saying, is to set up something that can sustain you in the event that you hit that $500 month or you hit that $4,000 month. That's not you got to remember to be very realistic and honest with yourself, to not be like, well, I made $4,000 this month. That's $2,500 over what I actually need for my bills. So I'm going to do whatever. No. That goes straight into savings just in case you hit another $500 month. But that is a super good point. And for people to be cognizant of is that what works for one person's budget is not necessarily going to work for everyone's.
Yep.
Because it's so different for everyone. And for me, I am very like, where I'm at, I get the exact same amount every 2 weeks. That is what I count on. That is what I know I have, and it's good to go. Salary, whatever. Whereas you guys, you start off with 0. And it's just like, well, let's figure it out. And that is not only financially frightening, that is emotionally frightening as well.
Steph and I had so many conversations about how, like, when we first started, like, trying to separate our emotions and like worth and like worth as therapists to like what we were making, because we would just I don't think we would catastrophize or spiral, but I think it would be something that we would daily talk about of like, what if this happens? What if this happens? But I think you make such a fair point of like, what works for someone isn't going to work for others. Like Steph and I have 82 different savings accounts. Like realistically, 7, 8. Maybe nine savings accounts, but I break it all down by property taxes, by tax estimates, by water bill, by car, by this, by that, because my brain cannot see the final number. Don't tell me I have, throwing out random numbers, 20 grand in savings. No, I don't, because I'm like, let's go on vacation. Like, I cannot see that final chunk, because I'll be like, I can leverage a little bit of that to do something. And then I'll shoot myself in the foot and realize like, oh, cool. Like my bills due and I have $5. Like,
but it's even things like my bank does not allow me to make 32 different savings accounts.
Yes.
You know, like I'm restricted to a checking and a savings. So like, I don't have that option. I could write it down, but like,
you could come to a different institution that would allow you to do that.
I've tried. I've been like, you know what, you could. There's locations all over the place.
I'm just saying that we're super amenable, and obviously that is allowed. But
it's allowed, and you get paid for just using your debit card. You get points. So so good.
That's not my sales pitch at all. I don't know what you're talking about.
You didn't mention anything.
But you see, what's funny about that too is I can't do that. I have to have it in one bulk account and then move it. Like for me, having it all, that gives me anxiety. Like seeing that many accounts, that it's like, to me, it's just like,
it's too
much. I gotta fill all those?
Why are you doing that?
The fuck you mean I gotta fill all those? Like, this amount doesn't fit into those amounts. Like that's
Mhm.
not how that works.
Yeah.
But you see, it all goes with what works for one person
Yeah.
doesn't work for another person.
Mhm.
And yeah, so that's again, as daunting as it seems, you just start it. Just start it.
Literally, just start
Because it can,
somewhere and start with $5. Like start somewhere.
and it can also evolve.
Yeah.
Don't get stuck in the mindset that whatever you start your budget as or however you have it set up, that you have to keep it that way. You do not. If you're like, I'll use this as an example. Like I have a tracker for my job. Like I keep track of the work that I do, whatever. It has evolved so much over the last 6 years that the first tracker I had compared to where it's at now, you would not realize it was the same person.
Sure.
Yeah.
The same goes for a budget. Maybe you start off like Mari, where you have all these different accounts that you budget a little bit and put it into each one. And for you, it's awesome to see visually. But then maybe something happens and you're like, oh, that's too many. That's too many accounts. It's giving me anxiety to look at it like I get. So you switch it over to something like I have, where it's just one big kitty, and you switch it, you do what you got to do from there. Or maybe you do that and you do some combination of it, or you realize that the financial that you're at isn't that cool and you want to switch over to a different one. That's also something that can happen.
Also something that can make happen very quickly, very easily, so quickly.
I'm just saying that I know people that can get you into a new place. But again, I digress, that it can also evolve throughout your time with your budget and with what your goals are too. Because if your goal starts off to be just, I want to pay my bills, awesome. But then you're like, oh man, I got these really cheap tickets to go to Ireland. Now you're saving for Ireland. Now you got to switch it up a little bit because you have something else to put your money towards, and you kind of got to adjust. So it can evolve, and that it should evolve. It should evolve with how you're growing.
Absolutely. I think that's the ultimate test of it, to be able to see the way that it progresses and see the way that you've been able to say, okay, I'm going to start here, and then I'm just going to chunk away at these little goals that I have, and then build into these bigger things. Like when I first started saving, when I was working waitressing at the place I was waitressing, the checks that I was getting from my full-time job of working at the behavioral health hospital, those were basically accounted for. And then the money that I would make there is where I would kind of like have like a little bit extra to do something with. And that, I think I first started out saving $20 here, $20 there, and then getting to the point now where I'm saving essentially $2,000 a month. Not like that savings is going towards like, oh, it's just what I'm saving. It's called tax estimates and they're kicking my ass, but I'm doing it, like it's being done. Like, so that's the other thing of like being able to recognize where you've come from, where you started and where you are now. So I feel like this is good.
It was good.
Do you have other questions, Steph?
Yeah.
Me?
One of you. well, mainly because we're asking Steph N if like the questions, and I feel like I've
had this been like a month ago before I decided to put my big girl pants on and figure out how I was going to pay the IRS back, I probably would have had more questions. But I've decided that I just need to fucking stop being a bitch and do it, and so.
And that was your turning moment, man. And everyone's got one when you're in that kind of situation.
Very humbling moment, yeah.
Well, and also not you being a bitch. It's you recognizing the steps you need to take.
Well, I was like throwing a tantrum for like 3 weeks, and I was like, I'm not going to fucking figure anything out. Fuck the IRS. Like, I'm not doing it. And then I was like, well, bitch, you have to. So
hey.
Call them and make a payment plan. Like
I fucking get it. I just the first episode that we did with Steph. How many times did we start a budget for me until I was like, and then it'd be like a budget. You wouldn't hear from me. A budget. You wouldn't hear from me. And then finally I was like, all right, well, I think I might go to jail soon. So I think I should figure this out now. Because mine was the IRS and property taxes, even though now I know that you can probably default on your property taxes for 8,000 years and they're not going to do shit about it, which is irritating to me.
Not true.
Are they getting you? People don't, because I swear I've run into too many people, because I bitch about property taxes all the time because I think that mine are entirely too expensive for me to see a speedway sign and listen to loud music at 2 a.m. and then have trash blowing into my yard. Like, why am I paying what I'm paying? But people are like, oh, I know someone who hasn't paid, and it's like, okay, I paid mine diligently.
You see, the problem though is you got behind on them at one point, and then took you almost 2 years to dig yourself out of that from 1 year of being behind. Those people that have dug those holes are now essentially always going to be behind unless they win the lottery, they get an inheritance, they get something like that. And the thing is that with the housing market the way it is right now, with houses being essentially ridiculously, grossly overestimated for their values right now.
Yes.
Girl, do not get me started right now.
Don't buy it.
Anyways, this is not the time to buy. Just don't do it.
Don't.
No.
Wait until the recession comes and then buy at a discount. But anyways.
Yeah. Buy it on clearance.
With that, and this is me as a person, not me as anything that's representing any other company, any other person, values, whatever it happens to be. This is just me as me and what I think is going to become something. And from what I've seen from certain things is that we are at an unprecedented high in the economy right now. We're at a boom, and we should not have been at a boom for as long as we were. So the recession's coming. It's not an if, it's a when. It's the economy, it's cyclical. When it hits again, it's going to be similar, in my opinion, to the back in 2008, 2009 recession when the housing bubble popped, right?
Yeah.
But this is going to be to a much greater degree where the state is going to want their money. So what happens is if you get too far behind on your property taxes, that's when your house gets foreclosed on.
And let me say this. I wasn't behind 2 years.
No.
I had them and I hadn't been budgeting for them, but it took me 2 years to be able to not have to set aside like $400 a month to try and get ahead of them, so that it was like, okay, when that payment comes, I can just pay it. When the payment comes, I can just pay it. So that's how long it took me, even though it's not like I was fucking off. I'm like, I'm not going to pay him for 2 years. So understand that like you're just setting yourself up for straight failure if you're not attempting to take care of it when or if you can, even if you can't pay the full amount, whether it's your IRS taxes, whether it's your property taxes, whether it's your mortgage or whatever, there has to be some sort of attempt. Do not just give up and be like, oh, I'm not going to do it. Like, I've been there, and man, I've fucked myself over.
Thank you for clarifying that, because that is 100% true. The other thing is a lot of financials. Let's use the fact that houses are grossly over valued again, that a lot of people right now that did go behind on their property taxes are trying to use their home's value to pay them. A lot of financials will not allow that. So this thought in your head that you're like, oh, well, now I have all this equity in my house, I can just use that to pay back property taxes and I'll call it even. A lot of places won't do that, because that is a much higher risk for something to happen again.
Sure.
If you're 6 years behind on your property taxes, why am I going to want to lend against your home to get you caught up?
Yep. 1,000%.
So just be mindful of that the stuff that doesn't, they're not necessarily charging you upfront interest and all of that whatnot right away, but it's going to come back to you. That stuff doesn't just leave your name.
Go away.
Yeah.
Don't think that just because they're not arresting you in the first month that you didn't pay it, that it's not going to create an issue. It's gonna. They're coming.
Yes.
They're coming.
Now, I'm going to go a little preachy today, because I had told you about what happened with work today. Just as something for people that are going for a budget in general. One other thing that I highly suggest when you're doing a budget is to look at your credit score. Okay. A lot of financials will provide free soft pulls of your credit. It does not affect your credit score at all. It just shows you basically a learning idea of what your credit looks like, depending on the credit bureau that you're going through. The reason that I highly suggest this is because then you can take an idea of what that credit looks like. And in the event that you do need to get a loan for something, it's not completely unexpected, especially if the loan is for an emergency. Okay. A soft pull of your credit doesn't hurt your credit score. and it will show you what you're looking at credit wise. Don't look at the score itself, look at the information that's reporting, because that's the meat and potatoes that lenders are looking at. Your interest rate is going to connect to your credit score mostly, but the meat and potatoes of the credit history is what lenders look at. And if you're starting a budget, if you're starting off and you're brand new and you're just like, I just want to know where my money is going, awesome. But if you're in a position such as Mari was, or Steph was, or I've found myself in before, is that you've overextended yourself and now you need help. You don't want to need help and go for help and no one be able to help you, unless it's like a predatory lender that can give you a 36% interest rate on a $500 loan that'll you'll pay off for the next 6 years, which is legitimately a loan.
Yes. I can't tell you how many clients I have had come to me. They're like, well, I'm just paying these 2 loans off. I'm like, okay, like, let's look at interest rates. Let's see what we can do. And then like, I think the interest rate is like 29%. And I literally like, I feel like my stomach drops through my asshole. I'm like, what? It's how much? Like, oh.
Here's my question. And I'm assuming that you know this, but maybe that's just like a weird assumption. How do you build credit without credit cards?
So you can build credit, vehicle loans, student loans. In general, it's loans, it's lending. A credit card is a loan. It's just a revolving line of credit. Credit cards are the best way to build credit because they're an established line of credit that you can continue to use and keep for years. And longevity of your credit lines is one of the biggest things that affects your credit score. So even if it's a $500 credit card that you've had for 10 years, closing that, you're going to see a big drop in your credit score just because of how long you've had it and it's closed, even though it was only a $500 limit. Now, if you want to stay away from credit cards completely, that's a little bit more difficult because then you're only getting credit when you actually need it, but you're not establishing the history that you need to have to be able to get those loans when you need them. If that makes sense. If you're a little bit worried, let's say about a credit card and paying it back, and you're just like, maybe you don't want to get yourself into a situation that you were in before, a secured credit card where you essentially put $500 or $1,000 into an account and they put a hold on it, and then that's used as collateral against the card, is a really good option, because then you know that that card is immediately taken care of if you can't for some reason pay it. So
that's interesting.
Yeah, it's similar to like if you think about a vehicle loan.
Yeah.
You don't have a vehicle, you have the cash, so you're using that as collateral. But I don't know about any other financial institutions, but the one that I work at, we look at those loans as if they're the exact same as unsecured credit. So in my
I just remember growing up, people were like, oh, like your re-energies bill, your cell phone bill, like that all helps you build credit. That's not true, apparently.
So it isn't not true. It depends. Each credit bureau has about 1,000 different models of items that they look at on your credit, and it's up to the creditor if they actually report it. So the only time that I personally, with the CoVantage 3.0 TransUnion CoVantage 3.0 credit pull that we do for our people, I do not see We Energies unless it's closed or in collections, and I do not see cell phone bills at all unless they're in collections. I don't see those at all on credit. I see student loans, I see vehicle loans, I see mortgages, home equities, credit cards. That's mostly what I see on them. I also see the secured credit cards. Sometimes I'll see construction loans. It's like there's a whole other large amount of go to it. But there's also something that like judgments and liens and levies and things like that. We don't look at levies on the CoVantage 3.0 side, whereas a different credit pull through TransUnion does. So it just kind of depends. And that's why it's really important to establish a relationship with either a bigger financial institution or one that you're planning to have a really strong relationship with that's a little bit smaller, because then you know what they're looking for. The bigger the institution, usually the higher the interest rate, but usually the easier to obtain. But I personally obviously pay everything that you have on time. Like,
yes,
don't not pay that just because it might not report on your credit, because it also depends on the creditor. Are they going to report it or not? If someone goes through bankruptcy and they own a home, if you have a mortgage, a lot of times they just stop reporting that to your credit as basically a courtesy to you for continuing to pay them unless you reaffirm it. And where I work is if your mortgage isn't reaffirmed, we can't do a home equity on it.
Sure.
So it's a lot of that little like transactional stuff that is depending on what the institution is actually looking for. And actually throughout the United States, depending on where you live, that will actually determine which credit bureau they pull from. So here in the Midwest, we use TransUnion. I believe on the West Coast, they use Experian. And on the East Coast, Equifax. They use Equifax over there, or maybe it's in the South. I don't 100% know, but here in the Midwest, we use TransUnion. But we've changed the type of credit pull that we do 3 or 4 different times. It used to be a FICO 6, then it was a FICO 8, now it's a CoVantage 3.0. And those are just different names for the thousands of different models of what are you looking for and what knowledge do you want to know about their credit? That's a really good question. Yeah.
It is a really good question.
I'm smart sometimes.
Smart all the time.
Sometimes I'll be using my noggin. Fun,
I'm the one that's just, letting my dog ruin my life. It's fine. Just been housebound last 2 weeks.
You mean your child?
Yeah. I didn't say dog. Charlie doesn't live in a cage. I don't know
my unhinged child that chewed my blanket up.
Does anyone want to adopt a kid? I mean, he's a little expensive, but worth it.
At what age can I not bring them to the fire department?
30? Is that too old?
Oh, God. For fuck's sake. We made it, guys.
We did.
We made it, and it was damn near an hour.
Yeah.
Let's bullshit for 8 minutes. No, if it was like a minute, I'd say yeah, but 8 minutes, God,
Yeah, because we're definitely
going on in my brain.
Yeah, we're not worthy of 8 minutes of hanging out because that's cool.
Oh, hanging out is different than having my words recorded. That's different.
Fair point.
All right. You can find us at Rewriting Her Story Podcast on Instagram. You can find us at Rewriting Her Story Podcast on YouTube and see our beautiful faces and watch me rub my face raw in the beginning of this and see Steph's unhinged child in the background. Maybe a little blur will run past. Zeus is saying goodbye. You can find Steph at The Spooky Therapist on Instagram, and you can find me at BEA_XO11. And you can't find Steph anywhere because she'd be locking it down. Don't fucking message me.
I don't want anyone to know about my child.
If you have questions or concerns for Steph about budgeting reasons, please reach out to our Rewriting Her Story podcast page, and we will absolutely forward them over. Or if it seems like we're kind of getting inundated, which I doubt will happen, but it'd be really cool if it did, we'll put like a little question box up. That would be so much fun. I said I was going to do that, and then I didn't because I forgot. So,
I mean,
it literally just clicked in my head. I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to put a question box up. So, no, I never did.
Well, that's probably because no one asked questions. So, I mean.
Literally, I can't tell you how many times I've literally put it up and people don't say shit. And I'm like, all right, talking to myself. Cricket. Thanks.
Well, that's when I was reaching out to you. I was like, so is there anything specific that you want to talk about? And you're like, this, that, the other, whatever. And I'm like, okay, is that it? Or
we're just going to figure it out as we go because that's what we do.
That's what we do sometimes.
Hey, so. But you know what? I'm a lot more knowledgeable about what I do when I talk to you guys than I normally am, I feel like. So I am super happy about that.
You killed it.
So did you.
Proud of you. Thanks.
Hey, I love direct questions though. I like answering questions a little bit more because I could go full on soapbox. Sure. I could just say no, I really could. Like I could just start off my day and be like, all right, you guys, I'm just gonna read through my emails with you and tell you what annoyed me, what's not annoying, what you should do, what you shouldn't do when it comes to lending.
I love that.
But I won't do that. I do that with the trainees at this establishment enough, and I feel bad every time.
I'd be like, you're going to be fucking thoroughly like trained after today.
Hey, they're great. The training department does a very good job, and they are very, very close knit with us. So
good.
I love it. Yeah. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, let me know.
Will do.
It's always a fun time talking with you ladies.
Yes,
Thank you very much for coming on. We love you.
Always, anytime.
Until next time, guys. Bye.
Bye.